Today's video is all about the fact that writing is hard. That's it. That's the intro. Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name's Stephen. I'm a traditionally published author, and in the future I'm going to be a self-published author. But I'm not talking about the publishing side or getting an agent, any of that today. I'm not going to talk about that. I've done that, and there's other videos you can go and you can check them out. I'm actually talking about the physical sitting down on your bum process of writing. Okay, writing is hard. Now, I'm not comparing this to any other careers. I don't want someone replying in the comments being smarmy and saying, oh well, all you're doing is sitting at the keyboard and go work in the sewers, go and be a bin man, go and be a doctor. Yeah, all of those jobs are incredibly difficult for various reasons and they're really hard. That isn't what I'm talking about today. And if you do put into stupid comments, I'm just going to delete them and block them, so no one's going to see them. So don't bother. I'm talking about being a writer and why being a writer is hard. Because I've been doing it for many, many years now. I've had 9 books traditionally published. I wrote 7, 8 books before that didn't get published, trunk novels before I got an agent, before I got a publishing deal, and there are thousands of other writers out there like me who are trying to do it, whether they're self-published or traditional, doesn't matter. Actually sitting down and writing a book is difficult. These days there's a lot more to being a writer than just writing the book. There's all of the promotions and PR and interviews and blog tours and going and doing physical events and going and doing signings and having a social media presence and all of these other things. All of that is part of the parcel of being an author today in almost every genre. It's pretty much what you have to do. You have to be seen to be a personality or a person or a presence. Some people are not interested in any of that. They just go into a bookshop and read books. But a lot of people are interested in the individual and all that stuff. But putting all of that aside, just forget about all of that for now. Sitting down and writing a book, putting words in front of each other and making a whole book is challenging. It doesn't get any easier. That's the thing. Maybe some people will say, oh, once you've done it a couple of times, it just gets easier. It doesn't. It doesn't get any easier. The fact that someone's paying you to do it versus not paying you doesn't make the process of sitting down to write any easier. You're more comfortable, sure. You're not worried. If someone gives you £1 million contract, you've still got to write that book. That money doesn't make it easier to write the book. It relieves stress because you're not having to, how do I pay my rent? How do I do this? How do I pay that? How do I pay the other? The money takes care of those worries and it'll do that. But the money isn't writing the book for you. Say someone gave me that massive contract. I still have to sit down and write the book. And some days writing just doesn't work. It just is difficult. Now you can say, oh, there's writer's block and all these kind of things. And I've done videos about that too. But if you find the process of writing a book easy after you've done a couple, I would worry, because it means you're not really challenging yourself. That's how I view it. Someone else might have a different opinion, but you've heard other people say, oh, someone's phoning it in. They're phoning the book in. It felt like they didn't have the effort, didn't put any energy into it. It feels so much like so many other books. You know what? Sometimes that might just be the case, that one of your favourite authors on his or her 37th book, they're writing it, and when they were writing at the time, there was stuff going on in their life. Friends, family, tragedies, problems, the kids, paying the bills, all these worries and concerns, stress a person out. And then you have to sit down and put all out your brain and write a book and just get on with it. And some days I'm able to do that and other people are able to do that. And other days you can't. And you can see the result in the work, because it's not as good as it was, as perhaps as good as you hoped it would be compared to the previous work. And that just proves the fact that everybody's human, everyone has worries. But that's also not exactly what I'm focusing on. It's part of the thing about being a writer, but it's not just what I wanted to talk about today. Being a writer means you're not doing something else. You're taking time, energy, focus away from doing something else. Someone asked me, how do I find the balance between writing and other things? And the truth is, you have to give up something else in some way so that you can sit down and do the writing. Why don't I just, I can't be bothered to write, I'm just going to go and play that video game. I'm going to watch that film. I'm going to watch that streaming service, catch up on that show that I've been wanting to do. And all of these things for every writer is there. Spend time with the kids as well. Like, I should be doing that, but I've got this book to write and it's on a deadline. So I really need to get on with that, because once I sell that book, I get paid for it and that goes to pay the bills. And that's something else that's in your mind as a writer. If you're a working writer or even if you're not, it contributes to your salary in some capacity. But being a writer means not doing something else. So first of all, there's the issue of sacrifice. And that is difficult. And it's something you have to wrestle with. And it's something you have to find a way to cope with and come to terms with as part of the process of being a writer. That's just kind of how it works. Why take your time away from friends and family? Why lock yourself in a room? Why do you make yourself do this? Why do you have to do it? Some people are probably asking all these questions when you're not doing the other thing that you said you would, or you promised because you forgot, because you're working on the book, or whatever it might be, or the characters are talking to you. Or some days I sit down and my target for me is 1,000 words on my writing sessions whenever I do them. And some days I'll do that 1,000 words in 2 hours, 3 hours. Sometimes I've done it like an hour and a half, and that's a brilliant day. And I feel great, I've hit my target. And sometimes I think, oh, I've still got enough energy and I've still got enough time. I'm going to do a bit more, and I might get to 1,500 words or 2,000 words, and that's a great day, and I feel brilliant, and I put the book down and I go off and do something else. Then there are the other kind of days. The other kind of days are when I sit down and I start a little bit of writing, tinkering around with what I did the day before. That's just kind of part of my process. I look back at what I've done, refresh myself and go, right, yeah, okay, and then I tweak a little things and then I move on. Or from a brand new chapter, I just start a new chapter and off I go. And some days it just doesn't work for whatever reason. And it's not writer's block. It's not that I don't know what I'm going to write, because I plan my books, I know where I'm going. I just sit down and it's a struggle. It's just painful. It's like crawling over broken glass. But I force myself to keep going because I made a commitment to my agent. I made a commitment to my publisher, to the readers. I've got a deadline I have to hit, and therefore I know I have to do so many words per month to hit my deadline. I have to do it. I never want to be one of those writers that say, who people are saying, oh, well, you know, they missed their deadline and again and again and again. The book hasn't been out for, 3, 4, 5, maybe 12 years perhaps or something since the last book. I've always hit my deadline early or on time. And I hate the fact that some readers wait for series to wrap up before they pick up the first book because they're afraid of the writer not completing the series. And that's down to a couple of bad eggs, I'm going to say. Those days, and I can't write, I struggle to write, I could spend all day bashing my head against the keyboard essentially to get to that 1,000 words. And I grind forward and I grind forward and I just keep going because I have to. And those days aren't enjoyable. Those days of writing are just not fun. Those days, and it feels like a chore, and the challenge feels bigger than ever. Writing a book is always a marathon. It's always do a bit, do another bit, do another bit, do another bit. And my books aren't that long compared to some people. They're sort of 115, 130k, maybe 140. And some people have twice that, 3 times that. And the idea of doing something even that long is really scary. And long-running series, terrifying for me at this point. The thought of trying to do like a 10-book series, that's insane. That's madness. Who would do that? The other thing is, I work part-time and I write part-time. Writing is my career. Yeah, this is what I'm going to do until I basically can't write anymore and I've lost my marbles and they wheel me off somewhere and stick me in the ground, The other thing is a day job. It pays the bills. That's all it is. It pays the bills. When I clock off, I switch off and I don't think about it until I log on the next time and I have to work. Writing is what I care about. Writing is what I'm passionate about. Stories, characters, world building. This is what gets me up in the morning. This is what drives me, despite all the challenges that I've just spoken about. Despite the fact that some days it feels like torture. Writing is still a job. And I've already talked about the comparison to other jobs, and I don't want to do that. One of the most annoying things ever is when you talk to some people and you tell them you're an author or a writer, and they go, oh, one day I'm going to write a book. And they get this kind of long, far away look like, yes, one day I will bring this great gift that I will craft to the world and it will change everything. And it won't. It won't. One, because it'll just be another book and it'll be the first book. Might be okay, probably going to be crap. Second thing is, 99.99999% of the people who say that, never going to write a book. And third, they probably haven't got a book in them. They just like the idea of it. They don't understand the challenge. They don't understand the hardship. They don't understand the fact that it's an uphill struggle some days. And you just have to keep going because you have to. You're driven to. You need to finish the story. You need to write this down. You have to do it. You're compelled to. Because it's who you are. Because it's how it is. But it doesn't stop the fact that it is still hard to be a writer. Waiting for the muse to turn up to write is ridiculous for many, many reasons. You should never do it. You should just write when you can. If you've got the luxury that you can do that, if you're not on a deadline, if you're able to take days, weeks, months off between writing sessions, and you wait for the vibe to hit you, and then you write a book. Great. If you're just putting the books out there as and when, yourself, self-publishing, and no one's pushing you for the next one, great. If you're a traditionally published author, most of the time, 99% again of authors, you can't do that. You have deadlines. And if it's a series, then you've got to put out the next one. And you can't say, right, book 1 comes out this year, great, publisher's happy. Then you go, yeah, the next book will come out when I get around to it, when I feel it. Maybe a couple of years, might be 3 years, might be 4. It doesn't work like that. And as for self-publishing, especially in fantasy, if you put a book out, and some people are writing 2 books a year, 3 books a year, sometimes more, depending on the genre. And that's insanity. There again, you can't just put 1 book out and go, yeah, I'll put another one out at some point. Readers want to be fed. If you give them a story that they love and they enjoyed it, they want another one. Slightly ranty video, but you kind of get the idea. I get it. I understand it because I live it. I am one of those writers that some days is easy and some days it's hard. Some days I love doing it. Some days I'm thinking, why am I doing this to myself? Why am I making myself do this? And then I realise the answer is because it's the thing that I love the most about being a creative person. It's something that constantly is with me. It never leaves me. It never stops driving me. That if I do stop writing for a while, if I finish a project and have a little break and say, rest your brain and then come back in a week, 2 weeks before you start the next project. My brain's already working on the next thing. It's ticking away in the background. What about this? What about that? And even when I'm working on one book, I'm already making notes on the next thing. I'm planning it. I'm scribbling things down. I'm doing a bit of research in a spare moment, or, I've dropped someone off at the shops and I'm just sat in the car for 10 minutes and think, oh, just look up something on my phone and find out something about this. And oh, that's a bit of nugget information. I'll file that away for later. And then it goes into the pot, into the world building Bible for the next book. So I'm always doing it. I'm always planning it. I'm always thinking about things. And sometimes that means I'm a bit distracted. Sometimes that means I don't focus on the moment as much as I should. Sometimes it means I miss things. Sometimes, surprise to any woman watching this, as a man sometimes, I'm not always listening. What a surprise, you say. And yeah, that's true. Sometimes I'm just not there. I say I'm listening, I'm not. My brain's thinking about something else, and it's not Cars or, anything else, or the latest Fast and Furious film, or football, or whatever. For me, it's, what if I had this bit to that world building? Ooh, wouldn't that be a great idea? And oh, that I could do this and I could do. Yeah, that's where I am. That's what I'm thinking about. That's what I'm focused on sometimes, when I'm supposed to be paying attention in the moment. And that's kind of how writers are as well, men and women. I think we're just a little bit distracted sometimes. Here's the fun part about being a writer. In my case, and other traditionally published authors and self-published authors too, someone is paying you for your ideas. You had an idea about something radical, weird, cool, a character, whatever it might be, and you committed it to paper, digitally these days of course, made it into a book and put it out there in the world. And someone has read this thing that you've just created whole cloth out of your brain, and they like it, and they love the characters, and they can see what you're trying to do, and they understand it, and they want more of it, and they give you money for your ideas. Obviously, it's not just the ideas. You can't just sell an idea. Try that in Hollywood. It won't work. And the same with being an author. You can't say, I have this great idea for a book and take it to a publisher and they go, yeah, great, sounds good. Give us the book and then we'll talk to you. Same with an agent. They'll be like, sounds good. Where's the book? So it's not ideas purely, but you understand what I'm saying. It's you turn your idea into a thing and then you sell this thing and people give you money for it. That's mad. That's brilliant. That's fantastic. That's using your creativity, your imagination, random neurons firing in your brain, connecting all sorts of weird stuff that you've seen and heard and read about that combine into something that's unique and different and special and wonderful. And people get it. They understand it. They feel things based upon something you've created that didn't exist. They see themselves in characters, people that aren't real, that you've made up. They can relate to these people, and indirectly they're relating to you because you have built these people. They're all you and they are not you at the same time. They're nothing like you and they're completely like you because there's little bits and pieces of me in every single character to some degree or other, but none of them are based on me And now none of them are based around people that I know. When I started off writing, people who knew me would read my books and say, that one's based upon so-and-so, that one's based upon your dad, I can see this, I can see that. I've kind of moved away from that. I think we all start there as writers by imitating other people, imitating styles that we love, imitating characters and individuals that we know. But eventually you find your way forward and create something whole cloth that people say, I can't see you in that, or I can't see, your friends in that, and that's where we get to. But there again, it's ideas, it's just thoughts, and that's kind of special. Being a writer, for me, is the best job in the world. It's the only job I ever wanted. It's the only thing I ever want to do with the rest of my life. Tomorrow I win the lottery. Yay, I've got £10 million in the bank. Enough to be comfortable, enough not to have to worry about money. I'm still going to sit down and write books. I can take longer. I can do all sorts of things that I couldn't do before with the book. I can experiment. I can play around with it. I can self-publish books and just put stuff out and see how it happens. I'm still going to be writing books until I'm no longer physically able to. But I acknowledge the fact that writing is really hard. Not everyone can do it. Not everyone can get there. I think it requires focus, energy, talent, pushed through the lens of you. That's something completely unique and special. But I also acknowledge the fact that not everyone can be a writer. And I think it requires some kind of talent. You can teach everybody all the skills and all the techniques. But if they don't have that thing, whatever that thing is, I don't think everybody can be a writer. Everyone can have a go. This is why people say, one day I'll write a book. And I don't think they will. But I think it's the best job in the world and I love doing it. But here's the other thing. Sometimes you have to give yourself permission not to write. Because it is so difficult. Because it is so hard. Because it is a massive challenge and a struggle and a marathon. And it takes you away from so many other things that you could be doing, that you want to be doing, that you love doing. As much as you love writing, sometimes maybe more. Maybe you hate writing some days because it's taking you away from that other thing. So I'm here to say, unless you're on a deadline and you have to write every single day and you have to crush the words in to get them in order to meet that deadline, if you can, take some time off. Have a break. Just go and watch that film. Just go and watch that thing you've been dying to catch up on. Rest and recharge because you need it. You need the energy. You need the palate cleanser. You need the break to be able to write. Because it is difficult. Because it is a challenge. And if you're doing it and you finish a book, well done. Congratulations. It's an enormous success to finish a book. To get to the end of that first draft. I remember the first time I did it. It's unlike anything I've ever felt. Finishing that first ever book that I did when I was like 19 or 20. The next huge kind of marathon thing for me was getting an agent and then seeing my first book out there on the bookshelves. Those are kind of three things in my writing career that still echo with me today. Take a break. Have a breather. Go out and look at the birds. Have a walk. Take a day off. Recharge. Refresh. Talk to other writers. Go to events. I love doing it because we all bitch and complain and moan. Find your tribe. Find your community. Find people that understand you because there'll be lots of people that don't understand you, that don't get what you're doing, that don't realise why you have to go and do this thing and take time away from the thing that you should be doing or the thing you promised you'd be doing. So find the people that get you. Find the people that understand what you're doing, the challenging things that you're going through. Have a rest. And then come back and we start again. Because that's what we do. Because we're writers. That's what I'm talking about for today. I'll be back very soon with another video.